Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. We're kicking off today's video with a prime example of entitlement, incompetence, and the sweet satisfaction of consequences. Our story features OP, an advocate for accessibility compliance, who spends the days making sure businesses follow the laws meant to protect people with disabilities. But when OP witnesses a Karen blatantly parking in a handicapped spot without a placard, things quickly spiral into a showdown of arrogance, ignorance, and one very lazy cop. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. A cop and a Karen thought they were above the rules. I work in advocacy and accessibility compliance, so I spend a lot of time making sure businesses and public spaces follow laws designed to accommodate people with disabilities. It's not just my job, it's something I care about personally because I have close friends and family members who rely on these laws to live their daily lives. This weekend, I was attending a large event in my city, and today was the mandatory check-in to pick up materials. The event organizers had set up check-in at a large private business with a massive parking lot, which meant plenty of space for everyone to park, or so I thought. I pulled in, parked, and started walking toward the building when I saw a woman in a lifted four-door truck roll into the lot. Nothing unusual until she reversed into an accessible parking space with no placard or disability plates. The parking lot showdown. Now, I don't go around policing handicap spots for fun. If someone has the appropriate placard or tags, I don't say a word. Not all disabilities are visible, and I'm not about to assume otherwise. But this woman, nothing. No hanging tag, no special plates, nothing indicating she had any legal right to park there. I slowed down as I walked past her truck, giving her a chance to put up a placard. She didn't. Then she got out and caught me looking at her. Karen, what are you looking at? Me. Do you have a placard to park there? Karen, what's it to you? Me. It's to the people who actually need these spots. If you don't have a placard, you shouldn't be parking there. Karen, laughing like I just told her the dumbest joke in the world. It's Saturday. Who's coming here that would need that? Oh, so now accessibility only matters Monday through Friday? That was new information. At this point, my patience snapped. Me, you're being an entitled a-hole. Move your truck. Karen shrugs, nah, F off. Me, all right, we'll see how you like it when I report it. Karen, rolling her eyes, oh, you're one of those people. Yep, I absolutely am. We walked into the building, and as luck would have it, a police officer was sitting right there. I walked straight up to the officer. Me, ma'am, this woman just parked in an accessible space without a placard or disability plates. The officer laughed. Not just a chuckle, a full-on mocking laugh. She actually looked amused that I cared. Me, I'm sorry, what's funny? Officer, I don't have to enforce parking on private property. I should mention that my city absolutely has a municipal code stating that officers are required to enforce accessible parking laws on both public and private property. I know this because it's literally part of my job to know. Me, actually under Municipal Code X, you do. Her expression shifted from amusement to condescension. Officer, I've been a cop for almost 30 years. Don't tell me how to do my job. Oh, one of those cops, the kind who thinks experience makes them immune to being wrong? At that point, I knew I wasn't going to win an argument with a cop who couldn't be bothered, so I backed off and just got in line to check in for the event. But I wasn't done. Before leaving, I walked up to her again and asked for her badge number and name. To her credit, she gave it to me without a fuss. Then she doubled down on her excuse. Officer, like I said, I don't have to enforce accessible parking on private property. Me, well, that's funny because your department's policy says otherwise. Her smirk dropped for just a second. I left it at that because arguing with the cop in the U.S. over their job rarely ends well. I walked out of the building and, wouldn't you know it, Karen's truck was still parked there. At this point, I was pissed off at the whole situation, so as I walked by, I let my frustration slip. Me, still being an entitled jerk, I see. Karen, laughing, shaking her head. Yeah, you're one of those people. I think you're just mad I was in front of you in line. Me, oh no, I'm mad because you're the kind of person who takes things meant for others just because you can. But don't worry, I'll make sure the right people hear about it. Karen's smug look faltered for half a second, but she kept up the fake tough girl act. That night, I did what I wasn't sure I'd do at first. I filed a formal complaint against the officer, not just because of this incident, but because if she felt comfortable laughing about it, how many other times had she ignored accessibility violations? And I made sure to quote the municipal code that proved she was wrong. The department had no choice but to acknowledge it. A week later, I got a call from an internal affairs officer asking me for more details. Me. I don't need anyone fired, but your officers should know the law they're paid to enforce. And if they refuse to enforce it, they shouldn't laugh about it to the people who actually care. He said he understood and thanked me for bringing it to their attention. A month later, that same officer was no longer assigned to that area. As for Karen, well, when I showed up the next day for the event, I saw her drive into the lot only to find that every accessible parking space was now being closely monitored. She took one look at the officer standing nearby and kept driving. Guess she didn't want to test her luck twice. It's wild, right? Karen acting like accessibility laws take weekends off is such a ridiculous move. Like, did she think disabled people just pause their needs outside of business hours? I mean, can you imagine scheduling your mobility needs around her convenience? That's next level cluelessness. And the cop? Officer, I've been doing this for 30 years, totally missed the memo, laughing in your face and dismissing you, bold move. But it's actually how she kept doubling down until you hit her with the actual knowledge she clearly lacked. Bet she wasn't laughing when the reality sank in. And the best part, you didn't just vent, you followed through and hit them with facts and policy that couldn't be ignored. The result, that officer got pulled from that area. Now that's what I call a solid win. Karma served cold. And our next story. Slumlord forced to clean up. My fiance and I owned a home near the downtown area where houses are close together and parking space is at a premium. As one of the older homes in the neighborhood, ours was one of the few that had a full private driveway. Most homes had a mutual drive or none at all. The house next door was owned by a creep of a slumlord, so you can imagine the kinds of tenants he attracted. After yet another midnight move-out, that house was full of garbage and leave-behinds, and he had to clear out the trash to rent it out again. He decided that between the houses, he owned 2 feet, we owned 4 feet, and we had a small sidewalk to access our backyard, was a great place to store the crap. The garbage pile was about 4 feet high, spilling onto our side and blocking our gate. After sitting for days, the garbage started attracting rodents, so we filed complaints with the municipality. After several days of no action, my fiancé shoveled all the garbage back into the neighbor's house through a basement window that had been left unlatched. A few days later, we came home from work and discovered the garbage pile back outside, exactly where it had been dumped before, and filed yet another complaint with the city. Roll forward a few days, and we arrive home to discover that the slumlord had returned to do more cleanup. We didn't see him, but knew he was there because he parked his piece of crap van in our driveway. We boxed him in so he couldn't drive off. Eventually, he knocked on the door asking us to remove our vehicles. My fiancé gave him a choice: pack up all the junk in his van and take it away, or we'd be calling the city to serve him his bylaw fines and calling the police to trespass him. Guess what option he picked? I'm glad everything worked in your favor, but calling the cops could have led them to inform you that it's considered trespass against chattels by denying him access to his vehicle, regardless of it being on your property, and you could have been sued in court for that. Not to mention it's illegal to block any driveway, including your own. And our last story. Cops used my driveway for speed traps, so I shut them down. I own my home in Illinois, and while it used to be surrounded by open fields, over the years the area has been developed and commercialized. Now I'm the last house standing in a sea of big box stores, fast food joints, and strip malls. The city's zoning board has let me keep my home as residential, and honestly, I love the convenience. What I don't love, cops treating my driveway like their personal stakeout location. For the past month, police officers have started backing into my driveway, using it to watch for speeders, reckless drivers, or whatever else they're monitoring. Now, I wouldn't have minded if it didn't interfere with my life, but it does. Several times now, I've come home only to find a patrol car blocking my driveway. At first, I figured it was a one-time thing, but nope, this has happened multiple times. Each time I put on my blinker, slow down, and wait for them to realize I actually live here and need to pull in. But often, they're too busy staring at their laptops or zoning out, so I'm stuck sitting in traffic looking like an idiot while cars behind me get increasingly impatient. One time I even honked, but the officer didn't react for a full 30 seconds before finally noticing me and driving off like it was no big deal. Another time, a car behind me almost rear-ended me because they weren't expecting me to come to a full stop in the middle of a busy road. I had enough. I called the non-emergency police line and asked if there was a policy against using residential driveways for traffic enforcement. The dispatcher was polite but unhelpful. Dispatcher: officers are allowed to use public spaces for monitoring traffic, sir. Me: right, but my driveway isn't public property, it's private property. Dispatcher: well, unless they're actively blocking your access, they're not technically violating anything. Oh, so blocking me from pulling into my own home wasn't enough of a problem? Cool, I'll make it one. I thought of several solutions, but I needed something that would force them to stop parking in my driveway but wouldn't get me in trouble. Then it hit me. I knew the police were using my driveway because it gave them a clear view of traffic, so I decided to ruin their line of sight. I went to a hardware store and picked up bright orange construction cones, a large no parking private property sign, a reflective tarp. The next morning, I set up my masterpiece. I placed 2 cones right at the entrance of my driveway, just far enough apart for my car to pull in, but too tight for a police cruiser to comfortably fit. Then I hung the reflective tarp between 2 metal stakes on my lawn, blocking the view of the street from my driveway, and the no parking private property sign placed right at eye level when backing in. That afternoon, I watched from my window as a familiar patrol car rolled up, expecting to back into my driveway like usual, only to suddenly stop in confusion. The officer sat there for a second, then slowly drove away. Victory! But it got so much better. The petty revenge bonus. A few days later, I saw another patrol car roll up, clearly hoping to use my driveway. I was already smirking when they pulled in, saw the cones and tarp, and immediately stopped. But then they turned on their sirens and parked in front of my house. Oh, this was going to be fun. I stepped outside, casually holding my coffee, and gave them my best, "Can I help you?" look. Cop: sir, are you the homeowner? Me: yep. Cop: what's with the cones and tarp? Me, smirking: oh, I had some people using my driveway without permission, so I decided to block it off. Turns out it's private property. The cop knew exactly what I was doing. Cop: are you aware that emergency vehicles need clear access? Me: are you responding to an emergency? Cop, gritting his teeth: no. Me: then we're good here. They glared at me, but there was nothing they could do. My setup was completely legal, and unless they wanted to start harassing a homeowner for protecting their own property, they had to suck it up and move on. I never saw a patrol car in my driveway again. Instead, they started parking in the Walmart parking lot down the street, which, let's be real, is where they should have been the whole damn time. I love that you didn't just slap up a no parking sign and call it a day. You went full art installation mode with cones, a reflective tarp, and just the right amount of F around and find out energy. The cop realizing exactly what you were doing, but having zero power to stop you. That's gold. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.